However, lye is a rather dangerous chemical. Hello everyone, thank you for coming or for coming back. Today I am very excited to show you how to make homemade pretzels. These are going to be nice, beautiful, big, soft pretzels like you would get at a fair or Oktoberfest, I suppose. So all the ingredients are down below if you want to make these, and if you're ready, we will start baking. Now we are going to actually start the night before by mixing our pre-ferment. I'm not going to show you how to do this because it is super simple. All you're going to do is mix together your ingredients in just sort of a container or a bowl that you can put a lid on, just until they're mixed together. You don't need to develop gluten or anything like that. Just mix to combine, put a lid on them, leave them at room temperature for about 12 hours so that they can get nice and fermenty and add a little bit of extra flavor to our dough. Now the next day we are ready to mix. This is really just a throw it all in the bowl and mix it together recipe, so you don't really have to worry about how to add the ingredients. However, I do find that with my mixer, it just mixes a little bit better if I put the liquid ingredients on the bottom. So that is what I'm going to do, starting with my water and then my butter. Then I'm going to add my pre-ferment. You can break this into little pieces if you want. I do find that it distributes just a little bit better this way. Then we are going to add our yeast, our flour, and our salt. Now you are going to put your bowl onto your mixer with a dough hook attachment, and you are going to mix it until it is finished. Now you'll notice that I didn't give you a time because everybody's mixer is a little bit different, but I will show you what to look for so you know that it is done. Now we have this on a rather high speed, and I really don't like telling you that you have to have a stand mixer for something that you can't mix it by hand, but I will say that my mixer was on a high speed, mixing for about 10 minutes, and generally if you're mixing by hand, it will take about twice as long. So I'm not going to tell you that you can't mix it by hand. You can, but it will take a long time. So just keep that in mind if you don't have a stand mixer. So to check that your dough is done, we are going to use what is called a window test or a window pane test. Now to do this, all you have to do is break off a little piece of your dough and stretch it out between your fingers. So for it to pass the test, what you want to be able to do is to stretch it to a thinness where you can see light coming through your dough without it ripping or tearing. And this just shows you that your dough is developed enough, there's enough gluten formation happening in there that you're going to have nice texture and nice structure to your pretzel dough. So now that your dough is done mixing, you can go ahead, take it out of the mixer, give it a nice little round up, and then you're going to cover it and let it rest for an hour at room temperature. An hour later, our dough should be nicely relaxed and it will have also risen a little bit. And now we are going to divide it and do our first shape. So this recipe makes 6 pretzels, so each portion of your dough should be about 125 grams. So go ahead and divide those off, and then we'll go through and do our first bit of shaping. So for this, you're going to take your dough portions, you're going to stretch it out roughly into a wide rectangle. You're going to fold the top of the dough to the middle, the bottom to the middle, and then the new top and bottom in half. I like to seal it with the heel of my thumb, and then you're going to lightly roll it out until it is about 6 inches long. Now repeat this with all of your dough portions, and then you're going to put them on a lightly greased baking tray about an inch or two apart. We are going to cover them up and we are going to let them rest for another 30 minutes. Now 30 minutes later, our dough portions are nicely relaxed and we can add the twist to our pretzels. So to do this, you're going to start with your little pretzel log of dough and you're going to roll it out even further. So we want something around a foot long, and you want to roll it so that it is a little bit wider in the middle and skinnier on the ends. And then to shape this, all you're going to do is take the two sides, bring them up to some sort of a U shape, and then cross them over, give them another twist in the same direction, and then bring them back down to the bottom and seal them against the middle of your pretzel. Now that was a really terrible explanation and I don't know how to say it more clearly, but I will play the clip here a couple of times just so you know what you're doing. One thing that you do have to pay a little bit of attention to here is the ends of your pretzel, the little tails. You want to make sure that you stick them down to the middle really carefully so that they don't pop back up while you're cooking them. After you have repeated this with all your pretzels, we are ready to dip and cook them. Now, traditionally, to get that nice deep brown crust and that sort of pretzel-y flavor, before baking, pretzels are dipped in lye. However, lye is a rather dangerous chemical that I do not want to mess with, so we're going to use a less basic solution to get a similar result. So here I have water and baking soda. You're going to want to use a 3% solution. So for example, I have a liter of water and 30 grams of baking soda. We are just going to stir those together and then put them on the heat and bring them to a boil to dip our pretzels. Now, working 2 at a time, or even more than that if you have a bigger pot, you're going to dip your pretzels for about 40 to 45 seconds on each side. This amount of time will give them enough time to get that nice sort of reaction going on the outside so that they can get that nice color and flavor, but it's not long enough in the boiling water that they will get super chewy. After boiling the pretzels, you're going to take them out and put them onto a parchment lined baking sheet, and while they are still just a little bit sticky from the water, we are going to sprinkle them with salt. Now, there is such thing as pretzel salt if you want to be really accurate with your soft pretzels. Here I just have a coarse sea salt. If you had something like a flaky salt, I think that would work really nicely, but you can also skip the salt altogether if you're not a big salt person. Once our pretzels are all boiled and salted, they are ready to go into the oven. These are going to bake at 465 degrees Fahrenheit until they are a nice deep dark brown color. When you take them out, you want to see that the pretzels are nicely browned all the way around, and they should have a nice, really firm, crunchy, crispy crust. And the insides are nice and dense and chewy, just like you'd want a pretzel to be. So I hope you make these, I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Bye.